Welcome, low ego action heroes. I'm Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We're a full service CX and UX consultancy, and welcome to Tuesday office hours. Ask me anything. It's July 27th, 2021, and I usually stick around about an hour and I answer any question that you have. Send them in. You can put it in the LinkedIn chat, in the YouTube chat, or you can send it anonymously or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at deltacx.link/ask. And if you send it outside of when I'm doing the show, I will queue yours up for early answering. And then if you miss it, you can watch back in the archive. It'll always be archived in the office hours playlist. So I did get 2 questions ahead of time. I'm going to start with those. The first question says, do you have any advice or resources on how to create good job stories? I'm a new UX researcher and not really familiar with best practices, but my product designers are running with them at the moment as a way to help the team focus on what jobs are users trying to solve. My gut feeling is some of them are a bit vague and others too solution focused, but I don't have any evidence or experience to really back it up. Okay, well, welcome, new UX researcher. Thanks for your question. I am not of the jobs to be done persuasion. When it comes to those things, I tend to do task analysis. So see the micro lessons playlist for task analysis and optimized task flow and task-based personas. Now, normally, at least in task analysis, we are supposed to do our task analysis and optimized task flow and related artifacts after research. It usually observational, sometimes interview, but they are the outcomes, outputs, artifacts of that research. So for someone to just go ahead and make a job and say, the user wants to get this job done, or maybe it's written as a user story. As a user, I want to do a thing because thing. My question is, are we making that up? Or did that come from good research? So I can't tell from your question whether or not this is coming from good research and that these are possibly good things, or if this is something that is being guessed at or rushed or assumed, in which case it could potentially be super garbage, especially if they are solution focused, because usually if we're talking about a task or a job to be done, we don't say, and to solve it, we need this. We shouldn't even do that in user stories. These are just supposed to be ways to express the problem the customer or user has, or the point in their task or workflow where we have found opportunities to improve, or to just focus on what their task and workflow is. This customer is coming to this website to find a certain form that they're going to need to download, fill out, and mail back. That's the workflow. That task is not done until they've done all of that, which means part of that task is getting to the website. Part of that task is doing any searching or browsing to find the form. Part of that task is making sure they have a printable version of the form or a PDF they can fill out and then print if it has to be physically mailed. So you can see how looking at the task doesn't necessarily prescribe the solution. It's really more about understanding what people are doing so that we can see where it's going wrong for them, whether that's more of a 4 horsemen model, my registered trademark, the 4 horsemen of bad UX, frustration, confusion, disappointment, or distraction, or whether it's more analytical like task analysis. So to you, the new UX researcher, I would start by trying to figure out, where did these come from? Where are these jobs or jobs to be done coming from? Was it something that came from research you did? In that case, they might be okay. But if it didn't, then they're really not okay, because it sounds like we're guessing what people do, and that might set us up for future, let's just say, non-success. I would also see if you can talk to them about maybe partnering, that jobs to be done or task analysis are usually come from research results. So let's use these to, number one, spin up what we don't know. Is there anything here? Is there any job or task or thing, user story, that highlights that there's something we don't know? If there's something we don't know, you as a researcher should look at a project to cover all the things we don't know so that we can No, that would be business intelligence. That would be risk mitigation. So that would be number one, is where'd they get this stuff? Number two, can we use it to show what we don't know? And number three, can you partner with them in some way so that maybe you are co-writing these based on the research data that we have, or of course, being in the room to say, hey, wait a minute, we don't know that for sure. We should be learning that. Solomon says, how do I inspire more actionable feedback from stakeholders? Okay, that is a question. Okay, we've got a question before you, so I'm going to put it on the list, but great to see you. And hopefully your new job's going okay. You can always send me a private message with the answer to that question, because I'm yelling names out loud. So new UXR, I hope that's helping. If you need more help or support, won't you please join our Slack workspace? We are finally getting ourselves more organized and even more supportive over there. Now with extra support, no extra charge. So come on over to deltacx.link/join Slack. It is completely free and always will be. And come on and join the community, the Low Ego Action Hero community. So let's take a look at our next question from an anonymous mystery person. And it says, how can I sell my project team on accepting and using personas? Show them the tangible benefits. I'm definitely not going to use the empathy word. Okay, thank you. I think that's a good start. So first of all, my advice in general is in 2021 is business intelligence, risk mitigation. Is there something about your personas that can be treated as business intelligence? Is it going to help people understand our users or customers or a target group better than we're understanding them now? Will something about this persona or set of personas help drive better strategies, better decisions? Now, if you're listening to me and you're going, I don't know, maybe not, then I would say don't socialize the personas. If the personas aren't really strong enough to drive these things and to guide these things, then I would say thanks for making them, but they just might not be the right personas to share, because we want to make sure that everything is meaningful, actionable, and helpful. If somebody can't see these personas and take actions or better actions, I probably wouldn't bother with them. And sometimes I don't bother making them if I just feel like, I'm not sure this is going to turn into something that really works. So when you talk about the tangible benefits of personas, I think I've got an old video in the micro lessons playlist about making more actionable personas. And then we also did the task analysis personas lesson in the micro lessons playlist. If you can build into personas things relating to what I was just talking about, the task, the customer's workflow, these tend to be more actionable than Susie is, or to quote Susie Safety from a band that I like, Susie Safety is in her 50s and she likes Starbucks and has a T-Mobile phone and she's a Myers-Briggs typology squiggle and she works and she might have kids. It's like, you know what? That's not actionable. I don't know what to design based on this very marketing fluffy description. So I think the more we can tie it back to this person needs to get this done because of these reasons or because of this workflow or because of the outcome they're shooting for, then we make them really actionable. And I think that can be easier to show our coworkers like, hey, look, this type of person needs to do this because of these reasons. Here's my task analysis, or here's what I learned from interviewing people. Let's make sure that as we're planning projects, planning product strategies, designing things, that we are making sure that this type of person can get this done efficiently. I think that's where personas tend to be more meaningful and actionable. But if you get the feeling they're not going to be meaningful and actionable, I might hang them on the wall, keep going. I don't know. Sorry about that. I do see the questions that are coming in through the video ask system. I see 2 of you. I will retrieve those after we talk about Solomon's question. And thank you to the people asking. Friend of the show, Solomon, says, how do I inspire more actionable feedback from stakeholders beyond make it pop? That's a pretty common feedback when sometimes you're in an ad agency or you're in a company that is a lot more visually design oriented. And typically I follow that up with questions. Now, first of all, let me go back before my questions. When I ask for feedback, I try to put the people who are giving me the feedback into the customer's perspective as much as possible. So yes, Solomon says asking for a friend. Always true on this channel. It's never for you. It's definitely for a friend. The last time we had someone asking for a friend about job interviews, I just heard they got that job. So yay for our low ego action heroes. So first of all, you can try controlling and driving the conversation a little bit. When I start out asking for feedback, I say, hey, product manager, does this match requirements? Does this match user stories? That's very different than, do you like it? What do you think of it? Now, I don't know what Solomon's friend is asking, but I do find that sometimes UX people might ask, what do you think of it? Or how can I improve this? And the problem is that just opens every can of worms for everybody to express their opinion about your work. So be careful there. Ekta, I see you asking, but just know that there's 2 questions before you and I'm in the middle of another one. So we'll get there. So number 1, try controlling the conversation or driving the conversation a little bit better with a much more narrow question about your work. Did I capture all of the user stories in this design? Did I capture the requirements in this design? Did I miss a user story or a requirement? Or have the requirements changed since we last talked? Try to drive the conversation for the type of feedback you want to hear. Now, if somebody says, make something pop, I might say, now here's where I sometimes ask questions. So if I show someone a design, I say, do you notice any place where customers might disconnect here? Where do you notice anything in, I'm looking for another pair of eyes on my design, or it's time for our weekly review, or whatever it might be. Do you notice anywhere where you believe the customers might disconnect, or where the customers might have a problem, or where the customers might be frustrated? Do you see any room for improvement in the efficiency of completing this task? I wonder if you ask something more direct, will somebody say make it pop? Now, if they're from my hometown, they might still say make it pop. I have plenty of stories about people who just don't answer the question and just go with, forget about this color, make it blue. It's like, I didn't ask you that. So sometimes if someone says make it pop, normally I will say, in what way? What's your definition of pop? Hey, I've worked in UX for years. I hear a lot of people say pop, but everybody means something different by it. Can you tell me what your definition of pop is? Hey, I'm new here. Can you tell me what does make it pop mean? And can you tell me what about it right now doesn't pop? Is it a button? It's the only button on the screen. That should pop. Someone's going to notice the button, especially if it's above the fold. So remember, if someone gives you meaningless feedback, you don't have to take it. That's my opinion on it. If somebody goes, yeah, make it better, and they won't tell you what that means, and you can't get it out of them, well, I'm happy to do another round of changes on this. Can you tell me where you feel the customer might be disconnecting from it, or where it doesn't really match what we've learned about the customer's pain points? Just make it better. I'm sorry, but I'm not sure that's actionable. I don't know I've done my best, and it sounds like you want something different. Can you give me a little bit more detail or something specific so that I know what about it I need to improve? And of course, if you can't get better information out of that person, I'd probably go to my manager. If you can't get better information out of that person and it is your manager, I'd probably be going to my manager's manager. But that's some of the thoughts I have. Solomon, do you think that'll help your friend? Am I going in the right direction? Let me know while I grab a couple of our questions off the Video Ask system and get them ready to queue up next. Human says test. That is technically not a question. Human, the answer is I see your test. Okay. And let's get Ekta's question on the list. Yeah, Larry says, make it pop. Ask for an example of what they think pop is. I would start playing This Is Pop by XTC, one of my favorite bands. This is pop. Yeah, yeah. So try some of those techniques. Let me know how it goes. Tell your friend to be in touch. Alrighty, now we've got an anonymous question. Any advice on shifting company culture to research and innovation to influence the long-term roadmap, opposed to constantly refocus on shipping features and short-term results? Yes, I have advice, but I can't guarantee it'll work. People don't like change. And if you look at our job descriptions almost never say, don't forget to show up here and change our entire company's approach to customer centricity. Thank you for this emoji. Charlene says, pop goes my heart. Thank you, Charlene. We imagine our job descriptions want change agents and they want us to show up and fix this stuff. And very often our companies do not want that. So thing one, you might not be able to shift the company culture, and it's not your fault. So make sure you know that. It's not your fault if you can't shift the company's culture. You don't have authority to do it. If you have authority to shift the company's culture, then you own that and you go for it and you don't ask for permission and you just start running. So, a couple of things that I would recommend that you watch from the channel here if it will help you, because it's hours of content. Watch it at 2x if English is good for you. Advice to company culture. I would probably say episode 116, which is about customer-centric agile. I think that one of our ways in is going to be to speak the business's language more, talk about business intelligence and risk mitigation, and use some things that I teach in that episode about lean and agile to show how doing research first is going to be lean and agile. If you need something at your company to turn into a watch party, look at episode 109, which is some of the same content, though it's a little bit older and I've since rewritten some of it, but some of the same content, but the audience for it isn't UX. The audience is engineering and product, usually maybe business analysts, but it's our collaborators and our teammates to say, hey, this is why we need to improve. It's called improving agility by using customers' definitions of quality and done. And it reminds us that it's great if we have high quality code, and it's great if we did what was on our to-do list. But if we aren't building the right thing for the customer, there goes that risk mitigation out the window. Highly risky to ask teams of programmers to build stuff that essentially are guesses that we probably will have to fix later. So, anonymous person, I hope that you will have authority to influence this. And I would say watch a couple of these things from our channel. Take another look also in the micro lessons at the, I think the first video should be a picture of me and Larry Marine, task analysis and optimized task flow. And I think that's something to bring into your arsenal if you're not doing it now. It is really effective and again, will really fit into that business intelligence, risk mitigation kind of thing, because working from task analysis means you are not feature-based. You're not like, oh, you know what? I think people would like a cup. Let's make them a cup. That's very feature-based. When you become task-based, now you're looking at what are our users and customers trying to do? What's their process? What's their task? What's their workflow? For them, where does this workflow start and where does this workflow end? How do we analyze what's going right and wrong here and then think about the features that match the improvements that we can bring to that process? So also take a look at those to work on being more task-oriented. And finally, I say this at the end of episode 116, but I'll say it quickly here as well. You have to have a plan. You can't just show up to somebody and go, we should be more customer-centric. Hey, I think we should change the culture here. You got to show up with a plan. If you need help making a plan, reach out to me. I'll do what I can to help you. But you need a plan. You got to say, this is what we should be doing. This is how we should be doing it. These are the changes we need to make. I might need to have more people on my team. This is how we do this better. This is how we are more agile, more lean, more customer centric. Everybody wins. Try that. Destiny, I see your question. I'm going to put it on the end of the list. There are a few, I think there's one question before you. There we go. All right. Copy, paste, copy, paste. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Here's Ekta's question. Let's put it up on the big screen. Friend of the show, Ekta, says, what are ways to organize the research, design, repeat tasks that could help in teamwork? I'm thinking a Trello board with the dev kind of backlog sprint setup for UX. Any thoughts on that? Well, my first question is, what tools is engineering using? So if engineering is in Jira and you're in a Trello board, it's not really the same thing. So number one, I always try to encourage UX peeps to get into the same system as engineers, because that way, eventually your backlog and your work can eventually make it through your workflow or your Kanban board right into theirs. And I think that would be a really nice collaboration between UX and engineering, where you're going through your research and information related to research and artifacts, attach them to Jira tickets or whatever they're using. There you go. Now, I also use lots of project management tools myself. Currently, I'm using Monday.com. Hashtag not sponsored, but boy, am I happy with them. And Solomon says, Destiny, Assassin's Creed your way out of there. Hey, Niku, good to see you. I do see your Instagram posts and hope you're doing well. Thank you for all of the beautiful Instagram posts you have. So I would say a Trello board is quite simple and can be okay if you like a Kanban style of project management. If you like other styles of project management, and you might not know which style you like yet, I would say take a look at other tools. And if there's a tool you can just kind of jump on that the engineering team is already using, and you can get in on that, because I think you're at a startup, if I remember correctly. So engineering's got to have some sort of tool. Hopefully it's not just GitHub. That's discount Jira, but it's a little bit ugly for us. So I would say look into project management tools. You can look at Monday.com. I'm not sure what you can do with any sort of free version, but still worth looking at. So backlog, sprint, UX. Yeah, I would say you can do that kind of planning in any project management tool that you like. But again, if you tie into the engineering stuff, they're on Trello. That is a startup. All right, if they're on Trello, then maybe you're on Trello, and eventually you're moving things from your board to theirs. Wah, wah. All right. Well, hopefully that helps. And again, if you don't like Trello, find something better, but ultimately it has to keep you well organized. If you're not well organized and your planning's out of control and things aren't happening when they're supposed to, don't blame the tool, even though there are better tools than Trello. Take a look at what else you might need to do to get your planning in order. Some of that might be time management, and some of that might be just learning to estimate better. I'm very surprised at some research newbies who think it takes like a day to interview people and a day to make up personas, and it's like, no. So just know it might be a process of learning estimation and time management, and I usually don't expect that of someone who is newer to UX. So if you need some help, let me know. Destiny says, I like Asana and Airtable. Yeah, hashtag not sponsored. There are many choices out there. I'm a fan of Monday.com. But again, if you use the tool well, it doesn't matter which one you use as long as it helps keep you organized. Next question is Destiny's question. So that means I'm almost caught up, which means please ask more questions, both live in the LinkedIn and YouTube chat, and then also at deltacx.link/ask, which is available 7 days a week for your questions, and we save them up for Tuesdays. Destiny says, What do you do when you have done all you can to mature a company's UX, but they still won't give you more resources? I'm a single UXer. Yeah, and that's where Solomon said, Assassin's Creed your way out of there. Yeah, obviously I was just talking a few minutes ago about how many of us want to come into a company and change the culture or change how customer centric they are or change the UX maturity. And the reality is we probably weren't hired to do that. Unless you were specifically hired with the authority to make these kinds of changes, companies usually don't want to change. They think they're just fine. Even when they're full of money-wasting disaster projects that have to be fixed later, they think they're just fine and really agile and lean. And it's hard for somebody to tell them they're not. They don't want to hear it right now. So, I would say if you have gone as far as you can go and you cannot get more resources, you probably are moving on in the job world to a company that is hopefully better about that. Maybe a larger company. You say you're the only UXer there now. Maybe a larger company that has more of a UX team and believes more in investing in UX workers and resources and the time we need to do our job well. So one thing you'll want to make sure you do if you do choose to job hunt would be make sure that when you're interviewing, you're asking the key questions that would help you know if this is going to be an upgrade for you or if it is out of the frying pan into the fryer, as they say, or out of the oven into the garbage. I don't know. But basically, make sure you're asking what is our approach to research? Do designers and engineers wait to get the results from research? What does our UX process look like? These are a couple of many questions, and we're going to do an episode in September where Julia DeBarry is going to help us talk about some good questions that we can ask. That might help you out. And again, sometimes companies lie. You know, if you hang out in our Slack channel, there's someone struggling now because they felt like the job they took was sold to them dishonestly, but do your best to try to ask the questions that will help you know, does this company invest in UX? Do they care about it? Do they wait for the outcomes of research, or does everyone just start guessing? Or is everything done by design sprint or design thinking or lean UX? Oh, it's killing me. So ask questions. It's okay to ask questions in interviews, especially if you're getting to like the second interview and it looks like this could be a thing. I always try to check these things. I also check, who do I answer to? Am I answering to a UX expert? Look them up on LinkedIn. Or are they a visual designer who may or may not understand UX? Are they an engineer who may or may not understand UX? Look at what that hierarchy looks like. Who would be my manager? Destiny says, if companies lie, is there any recourse? Technically not. There is technically no resource for, we hired you to do this and now we're telling you to do this. The only thing you can do is hold up the job description and say, remember when you said I was going to do this? Where's that? But they could say, oh yeah, we changed our mind. We need you to do this other thing now. If you're not happy, you know, so again, there isn't any recourse unless you have a contract that specifically says your job will be this, and if it's not, here's what happens. And again, nobody has a contract that looks like that. So unfortunately, there isn't a lot of recourse for that. Very often companies write some slippery job descriptions I've seen where at the very bottom it will say something like, you know, this is the job we want you to do, or anything else that's asked of you. Weird shit like that. So I would be careful about that, but ultimately, not much you can do when people lie. So good luck with that. And let's take a look at Clouder9's question, because I am caught up. Okay, Clouder9 says, thoughts relating to any models revolving around imagination phase. I hear there's quite a bit of controversy surrounding them. Imagination phase. Now I have to Google that. Because I don't know if you mean something like some part of Double Diamond or design thinking, or if this is something else. So I'm going to type imagination phase UX. And I'm getting step 3 in the design thinking process, ideate. I'm getting step 1 in the design thinking process, empathize. I'm getting design thinking, design thinking, design thinking. So Clowder, can you help me out here? What is your definition of the imagination phase? Ekta says the UX writing session had some questions one could ask during the interview to know more about job and culture. Yes, that was yesterday's episode. So tune in your time machine or check the archive for that was content design, content strategy, and UX writing. Clowder says, yes, exactly. You nailed it the first time. Creating hypothetical personas, anything that involves assumed info. Yeah, so basically, I'm against it. To me, the only good time it's okay to do something assumptive is to point out what we don't know so that we can spin up research to then know. That is the only time I'm okay with like a proto-persona or a hypothetical persona or an assumption list or whatever I would say never then run with the hypothetical or proto-persona, never run with your assumptions. These are risky guesses. And you know my catchphrase for 2021 is business intelligence and risk mitigation. And we are lacking business intelligence. We are running straight into risk if we run with hypotheses and assumptions and guesses. I like to say hypothesis is Greek for I'm totally guessing right now. I don't think that's the exact Greek translation, but that's what I say. So what I tell people is as soon as you see an individual or a team trying to work from assumptions or guesses or hypotheses, remember, a hypothesis is no better than any other guess or assumption. It's something that we think we know, but we haven't tested or validated. That's just the dictionary definition of that. So when I see people running with that, I say, well, hold on. This could be risky for our company. This could be risky for our project to run with guesses. It could be expensive for our company to do all of the UX design and then all of this engineering and put it out and then find out our assumptions from 3 months ago were slightly wrong, very wrong. So you all probably know I am against design thinking. I'm against design sprints. I'm against these things. This is very clearly laid out most recently in episode 115. So if you're looking for ammunition, the short version, ammunition against these things that I like to call aspirologies because they don't deserve the credibility that comes with the word methodologies, I believe these take us in the wrong direction, or at least they take us in a very risky direction. We would have to have really thrown that dartboard and hit the center of the board for our assumptions, all of them, to be right enough that the outcomes, the eventual outcome of the product we created for our customers to be a great match to our customers. And of course, we're running incredible risk where we don't know. I talk in episode 116, so I was recommending 115, but it's got a second half, 116. I talk in 116 about some of this risk as well, that it's amazing that companies will put 6, 8 engineers on 8 weeks of sprints, 4 2-week sprints, and not even know if what we're building has benefit or value to the customer, on the assumption we'll find that out later. So Clowder, tell me if I'm going in the right direction with your question. But again, design thinking is Fisher Price for people who want to feel like they can do what we do. You can also see episode, what was it, everybody? 108, which was what isn't design thinking. Design thinking thinks that if you follow these 5 easy steps, you're doing what I'm doing. You don't need Debbie. You can do what she does. You have harnessed her talents, her skills, her experience, her abilities. Just empathize and, well, hold on. We have to put this on when we say just empathize. So, Clowder, please ask some follow-up questions. I definitely want to address this one head on, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you some information, but I do hope you'll go and watch some of the other videos here since they do go into great detail, mostly from the intention of giving you ammunition at whatever job you're at to try to burn these things to the ground and get people out of these habits. Clowder says, it's just coming up now. I'll put it up on the screen. Here we go. Your feelings on that really hit home with me. I had a previous client who ran on hypotheses fuel and who considered them validated after a potential customer agreed. Yeah, and again, that's risky. It could work out okay, but what are the chances of it working out okay? I don't want to play Vegas odds. I'm not a gambler. Some people are. But I like to know that I'm headed in the right direction by using the business intelligence that comes with great qualitative research to know these are who our customers are, and this is what their task is, and this is what they appear to need or what their workflow is. And now we're going to build the right things for them. And unfortunately, when we work from hypotheses or guesses or things like that without stopping to validate first in a proper scientific way, because we've all also seen people at our workplaces validate their hypotheses because they designed the test or experiment or interview or whatever that would validate the hypothesis. I find very often, instead of testing for the original project goals, like, did we make this more efficient for customers? They end up testing, do people like this? And I go, that wasn't your original project goal. So there you go. Ecta says, am I missing something? Aren't hypotheses supposed to be tested and validated before implementing them? Am I missing something? They are supposed to be, but there are cool, fun things out there right now that are cool and fun, evidently, that I'm missing out on that say you don't have to. For example, if you look at episode 115, I go into great depth about the Lean UX book and where it's wrong. And part of the problem is that the Lean UX book uses an incorrect definition of lean, and it thinks that if we strip stuff down and work fast from guesses, we're lean. Now, of course, I teach in episode 116 why that's not lean, but I teach in episode 115 the dangers of doing the lean UX or anything like that, because lean UX is built around assumptions. Assumptive personas are okay, assuming what features people need is okay, assuming everything is okay in lean UX, evidently, because you'll figure out later if people liked it or not. But I think that's not lean. I think it's not agile. I think it's very wasteful and risky for companies. And it's what many companies are doing now. And all of us go, wow, this sucks. I hate this shit. I can't believe another shitty app came out. I can't believe how many months I haven't been able to use Philips Hue app. Months. This is the app trying to load up all of my smart home lights. It's been doing this for months. It cannot load up my lights. I cannot control my lights. Months. On what planet is that okay? On what planet was it okay to rush out? And this is a different design, so I can tell that they redid the app because it's a different UX or UI design since back when this worked. When this worked, this app looked different. On what planet is it okay to release that, hope customers like it, and fix it later if they don't? And when is later? Because I'm waiting months now. So just go read their app reviews. You might even see mine. 1 star, baby. Destiny says, I have some knowledge gaps on some UX methods. Other than books, are there any other resources on IA or task analysis? Super question. Let's copy paste it. And let's also check if I'm missing any emailed questions. Nope. So Destiny, Larry and I are writing a book on task analysis right now. That is not ready, so I cannot refer you there. IA, did you see episode, 104 with Abby on IA? I have not found any good online courses about IA. I am still recommending the books. I know you're asking other than books. Unfortunately, there aren't great courses right now on specifically IA. I am still recommending books, and so is Abby Covert. I even checked LinkedIn Learning, and it looked like their IA course was like 4 minutes long or something that seemed very short for all of what IA is. Destiny says, I'll go look at episode 104. Super. Niku says, the IA episode was incredible. Well, thank you. So let's take a look at what Niku is asking. Keep the questions coming. I'm here another 20 minutes and then I will fall apart into a drowsy slumber. All right. So Niku says, Debbie, what are your thoughts on how to connect with UX hiring managers on LinkedIn? How do people go about finding entry-level UX roles through LinkedIn as opposed to job boards? Well, if you are connected with hiring managers on LinkedIn, then you might be among the first people to see if they post something on LinkedIn that says, hey, I'm hiring, click here to see the job description and fill out an application. That would certainly be a good thing if you are connected to hiring managers. But I'm not sure that there is other more tangible or immediate benefits. Just because somebody's connected to a hiring manager doesn't mean they're hiring, or a UX manager doesn't mean they're hiring right now, doesn't mean they're looking for what you do. So I think you just have to be careful there because, you know, it's great to connect with people on LinkedIn, especially if you're interested in them. You can always request to connect and add a note saying, I'm looking for a UX job and look forward to you posting open jobs. But just because you connect with someone doesn't mean that they're going to private message you a job opportunity or that they want you to private message them a resume. I don't think that's the right way to go. I think that's a little bit, for, you know, even for me, and I'm one of the more bold people you might know, but even for me, that feels a little aggressive. And I get that sometimes. People go, hello, Miss Debbie, I saw you on a thing and here's my resume. Please find me a job. And I feel like, well, that's no fun. They didn't even stop to ask if I'm hiring. It was a little presumptive, a little aggressive. And I'm from like one of the more aggressive cultures on the planet, New York. So I would say always good to connect with people on LinkedIn. You know, you can't go too wrong with connecting with people on LinkedIn. But I'm not sure that that's going to directly lead to jobs. That's the downside. It's really about that unspoken networking adventure. You know, I think people just have to keep applying, and you can certainly add these people, but I don't have great news for you. Like, oh yeah, when you connect with hiring managers on LinkedIn, you're going to get like the secret private message that gets you right to the job application. I don't think it's like that. Sorry. And I also think people should work more with good recruiters. Excuse me. Go talk to good recruiters. Let's see. Charlene has a question. I'm trying to copy and paste it. No, I don't want to block you. That shouldn't even be an option. All right, let's see. Okay, question from Charlene and question from Nitish. So we'll get Charlene first, and it looks like this. How to handle a situation where a BA does half the job you're supposed to be doing and makes you an order taker. Well, that's never good. And that usually shows two things. Number one, the BA thinks that they can do your job. Number two, the process is broken. And typically that's because the BA used to do that. It's probably an older person who used to do UX before you came around, and so they're pretty sure they're pretty good at it, and I found it's nearly impossible to tell those people they are not good at it. So this is another example, and I think we're going to schedule actually a show with Ralica to talk to us about how to create team and project charters. And that way, when a project starts, the team or the project charter, whichever, usually team charter, is going to say, here's who's on the team and here's what they do. And that would be your opportunity, and you might need a manager's help if you're kind of changing what the old guard does. You know, Charlene is going to handle talking to customers and researching, and then collaborate with the BA on writing the requirements so that the requirements have some customer centricity in there and are not just business goals and features we dream of. The BA is going to do this, and this is there. So everybody gets their swim lanes, and the idea is that if there is overlap, we talk about how it's handled. And if there isn't or shouldn't be overlap, we talk about who does what. So when a BA is trying to do our job, and there's a whole chapter on this in my book, But unfortunately, a lot of BAs think that they can wireframe because they think they know what the product should look like, or they think they can talk to customers because talking to customers is easy. I'm sure some of them are okay at these things, but more often than not, not. Brian is here and says Charlene's issue lies with product managers as well, especially in large enterprise orgs. Oh, even in all orgs that I've been in, product managers are sure they can do our work. And it's unfortunate. It's absolutely unfortunate. So you might need some manager help with this. You might need to take a look at project and team charter so that everybody gets their swim lane. But note that it may be a little bit tough because people who are used to working on these teams before the team was hiring UX are going to be pretty sure that they can do your job because they used to do your job. And nobody told them they did it badly. And so that's where this becomes conflict because nobody wants to hear, well, I'm going to be interviewing customers because that's a specialization I have. And they're going to go, yeah, I can talk to customers too. And that's where we're going to need help from an agile coach, a scrum master, a manager, a leader of some sort who can come in here and go, this person is specialized. We've brought them in to do these things. BA, you do this. Product manager, you do this. That would be my suggestion there. But heads up, this is not straightforward or easy because of people's egos, because people are sure that they're good at what we do. And they're not, for the most part. All right, good luck. Nitish is here, and the question looks like this. Hi, Debbie. Is it a good idea to put up a hiring post with a personal work email, referral portal method, instead of recruitment's team email? So you're saying you're putting up a job and you're saying contact Nitish at Thingy instead of contact HR department. I think it depends. When I see people put up their personal email or when I see people say, DM me about this job, I assume that you're going to make a commission if you bring me in. And that's why you want to be the first line of person to receive the resume or CV or information so that you can bring the candidate to the company and potentially make that commission. That's fine. But that means you have to do the work. You have to look at everybody who comes in and do yourself a favor and be picky and only pick the people who you would want to represent. Now you're representing someone. I think if you bring garbagey people into the organization, that's not great. And if you're bringing in people you don't know and you're acting like, I refer this person, I think you should look at, Jim Smith, Sally Jones. What if they suck? Now you're attached to them. And it's like, wow, we hired Sally. She was really terrible. Oh yeah, Nitish referred her. What's up with him? Maybe we shouldn't hire anybody else he refers. Wow, that was a disaster. So I would say it's fine if you're doing that to try to get a commission, be careful. Otherwise, there is no reason to do that. There's no reason for you to get in the middle of the hiring process. Just let people go straight into the HR or recruiter database unless you have some reason to shepherd their application. Nitish, I hope that helps. Please ask any follow-up question that you have. David is asking, is that an Acture shirt? It actually is an Acture shirt. It is not a recent Acture shirt. It is an older Acture shirt, but still very much an Acture shirt. Hashtag not sponsored. I pay them. So Nitish, I hope that helps. Please ask a follow-up question if you've got one. And we still have another 10 minutes. So if you have a question, deltacx.link/ask or the YouTube or LinkedIn chat. I'm checking that out. While I wait to see if we have any last questions, let me tell you what's coming up on the program because we have some great shows coming up. Tomorrow, live at the usual time, 6:30 p.m. Italy time, which is when we started today, we are going to have super special guest Vivian Castillo, who's going to talk about healing conversations. I think that's going to be really important. So I hope you'll join or look for it in the YouTube archive. It will be in the live stream podcasts playlist. Charlene says, how do we get an Acture shirt? I think I visited them, and I gave them chocolates and they gave me a shirt. We were buddies. I'm one of their official trainers. Thursday, the 29th, we have a rescheduled Michelle Ronson, who's going to talk about convincing leadership on the value of research. I hope she will have some actionable advice for us. Friday, of course, is our reaction stream. Monday, the 2nd, Daniel Engelberg will be back to talk about increasing your creative capacity. Tuesday, the 3rd, office hours, Ask Me Anything. Quick note for August, our Three Musketeers episode is being postponed. Darren's not able to make it on the 10th because of his new job, so our Three Musketeers Ask Us Anything will be August 17th instead of the 10th. It's usually the 2nd Tuesday. This month in August, it'll be the 3rd Tuesday. We've got a follow-up question for David. From David. And so anyway, that's a couple of weeks of what's coming up on the show. But remember, you can always check out what's going on the show. deltacx.link/events is a cheesy Google Calendar with all the things that we have planned. So you can add them to your calendar and be ready for action and join us. So going back to David's follow-up question, let me copy and paste it. And Nitish says, thanks. I presumed I could help with one level of screening process before a design manager would have to go through each and every application. If that's not your job, Nitish, you don't have to do it. Make the design manager go through the applications or HR go through the applications. Not sure it's worth your time. Okay, we have a follow-up question from David over in LinkedIn, who says, what is Axure good for? I found it to be too powerful. Well, I guess that's strange. I always think it's best to work with the tools that we're going to grow into and not grow out of. And to me, it's not too powerful. It is the right amount of power. And I see all other tools as too low power. Because if we are not building realistic interactive prototypes, what are we doing? How do we know how this thing is going to work? How do we walk through it and see if we've made something that's easy to learn, easy to use, satisfies the problems, creates the improvements our customers need? How do we usability test a non-realistic prototype? If you give somebody something in InVision or Figma or some of these other prototypes, you aren't testing something that's realistic to how it might look and work. You're giving them this click-through choose your own adventure book. And so I don't think these are powerful enough. I really hope that people will get away from them. In my opinion, there is never a reason to build a Figma prototype or an InVision prototype or things like that. Certainly not sponsored, because they're not powerful enough. I need something that's going to represent the way that this thing works. Even if it's not the exact final way it's going to look, even if we don't have finalized copy or content or imagery, I can at least see, does the workflow that I've created work for the goals of this project? And then, of course, when you take it to usability testing, either in medium fidelity or high fidelity, you can see, does this meet the goals? Otherwise, I definitely don't get paper prototypes. It makes no sense to say, here is a digital thing, tell me what you would click on. Not a thing, not a thing. So I would say don't be afraid of Axure. People look at Axure. It does have a large learning curve. I do train people on Axure. I do have video courses and I do private training. It is definitely a learning curve, but I believe it is worth learning because otherwise, what are we doing? What are we testing? Why are we testing a paper version of a digital thing? Why are we testing a wireframed version of a digital thing? Why are we testing a not completely interactive version of a digital thing? Why are we testing a prototype that doesn't let people fill in a form? No, not a thing. Click-through doesn't work for me. So David, tell me more about your world, but I would say get into more realistic prototyping, whether that's Axure or a competitor, or if you write code faster than you could use Axure, that's fine too, but just do realistic prototyping. He says, I guess I just wish it wasn't such a closed system. Can you explain that? How is Axure a closed system and Figma's not? Axure is Axure. I don't understand to me, it's not a closed system. So again, I guess I don't so first it was too powerful and now it's a closed system. Methinks he doth protest too much. Acture is the best tool out there. They don't pay me to say that. I pay them. So I believe it is. Oh, thank you, Balu. Thank you very much. Welcome. Destiny says, I agree with Debbie. It's hard to get real feedback when you don't have enough interactions built out. And I use it even for my own work. I use it to say, hey, does it look like I'm building something great? Let's walk through it. Let's do a little cognitive walkthrough and see if this thing seems to make sense. Excel says, I'm late. Did I miss the dancing and the pizza? I am not having pizza today. I am back on Weight Watchers, and I am the worst dancer I know. So, no, you did not miss the dancing. I can't import SVGs. Are you in Acture 7? Because I believe Acture does SVGs. Acture imports Figma and Sketch. So if for some reason you've started in the super sad Figma or Sketch, you can bring it into Acture. And yeah, if you bring in a PDF, it's just going to treat it as a flat image. I can't think of a situation in which I need to bring in a PDF into Acture. I'm more likely to rebuild that PDF and make it better than it was. So your wish list for Acture, I do not find completely reasonable. I would be rebuilding. Why are we bringing in a PDF when we should be building online forms? PDFs are so 2001. Let's have online forms with good validation, with good progressive disclosure, with good information architecture. Let's get people out of PDFs. Nietzsche says, hi, Debbie. What testing platform do you suggest to use with Acture? Thanks for asking, and I'll stay a little late and answer some extra questions today. And am I missing any questions in the ask thing? No. And Clouder, I see your question. We'll get you in after Nietzsche. I'm giving you an Italian pronunciation, Nietzsche. I hope that's okay. Nietzsche says, let's put it up on the screen. Oh, I've made you Italian. I hope you don't mind. You might be Nikki. I'm so sorry. I've made you Italian. If you were Italian, you would be Nietzsche. Nikki or Nietzsche says, hi, Debbie. What testing platform do you suggest to use with Acture? Right now, I am sad at all of the testing platforms. Super, super sad. They make me all mad. There's a couple of them that don't even work with Acture prototypes, so that is just off the charts wacky. There are some that do, but some of them are so expensive. User testing is expensive. User Zoom is expensive. Obviously not sponsored. I'm going to name some companies. They are not sponsored. They are not paying me to say good things or bad things about them. Nikki is the correct pronunciation. Thank you. If you want to be Italian, let me know. I tried Validately. It was okay. User Zoom bought them. I was sad. I tried Userlytics. It was okay, but I dislike their sales team immensely. So much so that I'm trying to not work with Userlytics because I am so unhappy with their pricing and their sales team. So again, you can use these. These aren't bad systems. I've just had certain experiences that made me say, if I cannot use this company, I will try to not use this company. So for our last round of usability testing, we actually tried UX Tweak. Again, hashtag not sponsored. We had some good results from it. It's a very simple system. It's not the prettiest system. It was clearly built by programmers and not UX people. But it had some very nice functions and features. We did have a technical problem when our testing results came in. It took them a week to fix it. So it must have been a pretty bad technical problem, and it did set us back time-wise. But I thought that their pricing was pretty good. I thought that their support was generally helpful, even though we had some very bad problems. I'm not sure anybody there really knows UX. I'm a little suspicious of some stuff there, but it was a system I would probably try again. So, and I might give you a different answer 3 months from now, but I would say UX Tweak was decently priced with decent features, a little bit of a learning curve, but I was pretty happy with it once they fixed our technical problem. It was 150 euros for a month, but I think it was unlimited use of all of their tools. And they do like usability testing. They've got a card sort. They've got some other things. So I would look at them. But again, somebody said, oh, look at Maze. Maze can't work with actual prototypes. I tried to put one in and it literally said, we can't work with Envision. And I was like, wow, you are so bad at actual prototypes. You think it's an Envision prototype. Ouch, that hurts. So I would say right now I'm going kind of month to month with UX Tweak. So we used it and then we shut it off because I don't want to pay 150 euros a month if I don't need a thing. But I think if we needed more testing, I'd probably give them another chance, even though, again, we had a little bit of a tech problem. And then we've got Clouder is still with us. Clouder, do I know you under another name? Partly Cloudy. All right, Clouder says, thoughts on Career Foundry, considering mentoring, but concerned I may be contributing to a broken system that doesn't advocate for good UX. Yes. So also note that they might not accept you, because I have found that anybody who really wants to fight for good UX, they kind of don't want that. I've spoken to some Career Foundry students. I'll give you an example. A young woman sent me her portfolio after doing Career Foundry, and this was a year or a little bit over a year ago. I thought her portfolio was quite poor. I thought that she was unlikely to get a job in UX. I don't think she has found a job in UX yet, but I did think that her portfolio was unfortunately not good. And I went into detail. I sent her like a 20 or 30-minute video on, here's what I see in your portfolio. Here's why I feel that you haven't done the right type of work, the right type of process. And that if a UX hiring manager with extensive experience looks at this, they'll probably see this too. And I'm concerned about this. And her response was, everything that you said about my portfolio that was negative, I was praised for at Career Foundry. And so my concern is that these boot camps generally seem to be systems that are very insulated. I mean, talk about a closed system. You're unlikely to, you're not going to be able to change what they're doing. You're not going to be able to raise it up. The boot camp is a for-profit universe that is looking to spit out what I call production designers in a matter of weeks. These are typically not people who understand enough about UX or were taught core foundational principles. They were not even judged by anything. Clouder says, wow, red flag. Yeah, I agree. So sometimes I've looked at some portfolios. Many of you send me your portfolios, and some of you are from boot camps. And I look at these things and I say, how did your boot camp not notice this? How did your boot camp not notice that your research plan was kind of wrong? How did your boot camp not notice that your personas were racist? How did your boot camp not notice? I've seen so many strange things in portfolios from a variety of boot camps. And typically I will be a little bit bold and say, how did your boot camp not tell you this wasn't okay? How did your boot camp let you do this? I even spoke to a guy a few weeks ago. He thought he was interviewing me for his boot camp sample project. He's like, I want to talk to people who, and I forgot what it even was, but I had said, yep, that sounds like me. And I signed up for his stuff just to try to help him out and be one of his interview subjects, because I do that sometimes. And when we started speaking, I realized I wasn't who he was looking for at all. And I said, well, how did you recruit this? And he's like, what do you mean recruit? And I was like, oh. So, you know, it seems like many people at boot camps are taught to go through the motions. Do something that looks like research. Run a survey. Talk to two people. You know, some of his questions for me were super bizarre. I said, who looked at your questions? I said, how do your questions match your research goals? I don't think they do. And then he was like, oh, maybe they don't. I said, how are you going to learn what you need to know for this project? Well, I said, did anyone at the boot camp look at this? Oh, yeah, my instructor and mentor looked at this. They said this was really good. And people wonder why I'm against boot camps. I'm not even sure they're getting you ready for a order taker production designer job, let alone a critical thinking, problem finding, problem solving, scientific behavioral job. So I think that it's nice that you want to mentor. I would say do the world a favor and just put yourself out there as a mentor. You don't have to be associated with Career Foundry. If you have something to offer, if you have at least, say, 4 or 5 years of experience and you've had some varied experiences and you can really help people level up their work or help them with something they're doing, just put yourself out there for free or for paid, whatever you're going to do. Just put it on LinkedIn. Just write on LinkedIn, hi, I think I have time in my schedule to mentor someone up to 2 hours a week. I want to give you the help that you're going to need. Now you're going to get 4,000 applications, so you're going to need some sort of process to figure out who you want to work with. But that's one way to go. Some people put themselves on the ADP list, but I tell people be very careful when you look at mentors at the ADP list. I've seen people with 1 year of experience. I've seen people in their first job. And I've seen people who I think are fantastically talented in UX who got rejected by the ADP list. So the ADP list isn't the shit. The ADP list might be shit. So be careful. Clouder says, great response. Thanks. Super helpful. Well, great question. So we're running a little bit late, so I am going to play us out of here and say goodbye. But remember, tomorrow is a live show with Vivienne Castillo. Bring your tough questions about the tough stuff that happens at our jobs that you know would be right up her alley. Nitish, you have a question. I'm signing off, but your question says, what's your opinion about freshers applying for UX jobs right after completing a UX course like Google or Udemy? I know a few developer friends have applied to UX jobs. Yeah, remember, nothing stops you from applying to anything. You can apply. You can apply to 1,000 jobs a day if you want. But my thought is that you are more likely to get jobs that you are qualified for. Take a look at what the job is asking and ask yourself, am I qualified for this job? Because I see all these jobs that say we want 1 year of work experience in UX, 3 years of work experience in UX, 5 years of work experience in UX. And I see bootcamp graduates or online course graduates applying to them because someone cheerleaded them and said, yeah, you graduated, just go apply for everything. Just give it a shot. Maybe someone will give you a chance. They want 5 years of experience, just go for it. You're a developer who barely knows UX, just apply. Rah, rah, rah. And I think that can be misleading. I tell people, apply for jobs that you should qualify for. Apply for jobs where you're in the interview, you have a compelling reason why you're going to fit into that workplace and be able to do the job. Employers want people who can do the jobs on day one. They don't want people who showed up and are guessing at UX. They don't want people who are going to show up and expect a year of training and coaching and work reviews, hours a week. So, no. Yeah. So I would say apply to something that you are qualified for, but nearly nobody is qualified after online courses, Google, Udemy, whatever, or even boot camps in some cases, especially because employers moved the goalposts. They didn't like how many people were applying because of how many boot camp graduates there are. So now almost every junior UX job says you must have at least 1 year of work experience. That was a correction. That was to correct boot camps. That was to keep boot camp graduates who haven't had their first job yet from applying. So all the people going, rah, 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 apply for it anyway. You're technically not qualified. If they want a year of work experience and you can't show a year of real work experience, and I mean real work experience, not I made my cousin's WordPress website, not I designed jewelry, not all these other things y'all try to tell me could have been UX. They're looking for a year of corporate work experience. If you don't have that, you are technically not qualified. You can apply. You can apply. Nothing stops you. But I think it's going to work out better if you apply for things you're qualified for. I think that's just going to be a better way. So hopefully that helps. Good luck to everybody. So I will see you tomorrow for our show with Vivienne. And I am getting my first vaccination tomorrow, so I am terrified. Think good thoughts for me. And hopefully I won't have any weird side effects, and I will conduct the show as the usual wacky person I am, rather than some other wacky variation. Thanks to Clowder for the applause. Everybody, wear lots of masks, be well, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are